So another prominent Democrat has decided to join in the grifting money grab of writing a tell-all book revealing the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline. Except for this time, it comes from somebody directly in the White House who perpetuated this monstrous lie. So the person who's crawled out of the woodworks, who's hoping to grab just an ounce of relevancy, is none other than Joe Biden's press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. So it was bad enough when Jake Tapper tried to convince us he had nothing to do with perpetuating the lie that Biden was mentally fit. But Jake Tapper, even if he was lying, which we know he is, claims that he was misled by the White House. Karine Jean-Pierre can't even use that lie, as she was the person standing at that podium every single day telling the media that Joe Biden was as fit as can be. What I find troubling about this is people who were directly complicit in the biggest scandal in US history now think that they can go out and make a couple of dollars admitting that they lied in their tell-all stories, and it's just not a big deal. And what's hilarious is one of the big developments in Karine Jean-Pierre's book, who they're calling DEI Jake Tapper now, is not just about Biden's mental health cover-up, it's that she's fed up with the Democrat Party and she's becoming an independent. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. But before we hear from Karine Jean-Pierre just what her new book is about, let's be refreshed on all the time she lied to our faces about Joe Biden.
Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
that's ridiculous.
When staff
that's a ridiculous claim.
What's...
I would put the President's stamina, President's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir. Comments were made in that report about that, obviously about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith.
I know I'm not showing you guys anything you don't already know. I just wanted it to be fresh of mind so it's relevant as we watch her grift and lie for this money. Not to mention she slipped up on The View a few months back when she admitted that she didn't even interact with Joe Biden daily, weekly, or sometimes monthly, but still stood at that podium every day, confident as ever, and assured the American people Joe Biden was fine. Now, without further ado, I am not going to keep this good laugh from you guys any longer. Let's hear from Karine Jean-Pierre about her new book.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. It's coming out on October 21st, so please do grab it. And the reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me.
Okay, hold up. Just look at the delusional, arrogant, self-aggrandizing pretentiousness of this woman. You expect me to believe that random people are stopping this lady at the grocery store, on the street, for advice and insight, as if she's some philosophical or political genius. Someone needs to ask her, Karine, are those people in the room with us right now? She's acting like she's the Dalai Lama and people are trekking far and wide to get Karine Jean-Pierre's opinion on something. Like she can't admit that she's releasing this book because she's desperate for attention and a quick buck. So she has to give us this imaginary backstory that, oh, so many people were asking for my advice, asking for my solutions, so I just had to put it in the book for the millions of people who wanted to know what I think. But let's hear about her new book, which obviously will be so powerful that It'll be the new moral framework we all use to base our lives around.
In an era of misinformation, disinformation, the regressiveness of social policy, what we're seeing currently right now, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done. And that's what this book does. And here's the truth. And here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. And the way that I see moving forward in this space that we're in right now is, if you are willing to stand side by side with me, regardless of your how you identify politically, and as long as you respect the community that I belong to and vulnerable communities that I respect, I will be there with you. I will move forward with you. And that is, I think, so important. So this book, Independent, it's about looking outside of boxes, not just always being in a partisan stance.
Oh my God, this woman can't be serious. I mean, the first thing she said, and then she wants us to take her seriously, is that she's been thinking long and hard and having these internal struggles, and she finally decided to follow her own compass. If you're a person in your mid-40s and you're just now deciding to follow your own compass, there's something wrong with you. It's basically you admitting that up until today, you had no principles that you actually stood on. And then after that, she starts to lecture us about how we're too partisan. We need to think outside of the box. We need to look at the other side and hear what they have to say. It's the same hypocritic nonsense the Democrats espouse when they say, we're the party of love and compassion and inclusion, except for if you disagree with them and then you're a vile, evil, fascist, bigot Nazi. And then goes on to inject her moral righteousness in it and say, I can get along with anybody on any party, only as long as you agree with this checklist of things. The Democrats can't get past identity politics. As long as they maintain their oppressor-oppressed worldview and declare that they stand for social justice, which means pandering and prioritizing the groups that they deem to be oppressed at the expense of the oppressor group, they'll never get past identity politics. They'll never unite people. Donald Trump united people of all ethnic groups under the message that we're all American. The Democrat message is, hey, black people, we'll fight on your behalf because white people suck. Hey, Hispanic community, we'll fight on your behalf against the white people because they suck. Hey, trans community, we'll fight on your behalf against the white people because they suck. Hey, women, we'll fight on your behalf against men because men suck. And then they wonder why they have a problem with white people and male voters. Let's hear what our boy Scott Jennings over at CNN has to say about this embarrassing grift.
I have a different view. I'd like to congratulate Democrats for ridding yourselves of this untalented mediocrity. I mean, this is the most self-aggrandizing liar that has ever held this job. The White House press secretary is a sacred position, and she stood up there for years and lied through her teeth to the American people.
My friend, she's not the first.
She is the literal worst White House press secretary in my lifetime. And what she did in the last year and a half of the Biden administration, cheap fakes, the entire cover-up around the president's mental faculties, she was in the center of it.
So you think she's doing this to launder herself?
So congratulations for getting rid of this, but Democrats deserve everything they're getting here for putting her in that job in the first place.
What I find funny is the elitist nature of her declaring that she's now an independent, so she seems more nuanced, less partisan, but conveniently all of her beliefs and worldviews still completely coincide with what the Democrat Party stands for. I hate seeing this every time somebody on the mainstream media who bashes Trump at every turn, who defends Democrats as the nicest people in the world, cannot do any wrong. And then when people point out the inherent flaws in the Democrat Party, and then they say, you guys, the mainstream media reporter will conveniently throw their hands up and say, well, I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent. It seems like just a weak way of absolving yourself from having to defend the party you clearly support while criticizing the other party with a completely different level of scrutiny. Now, people have been throwing Jean-Pierre under the bus. They are not receiving this the same way they received Jake Tapper's book. So the Axios reporter, who's actually Jake Tapper's co-author for their book, released a scathing article from sources in the Biden White House revealing everybody there thought Karine Jean-Pierre was dumber than a box of rocks. Here's a portion of this article. The fighting within Biden world is part of larger post-election angst and grievance amid new reporting of how Joe Biden's staff tried to hide his physical and mental decline during his presidency. Jean-Pierre was a key part of the effort to conceal Biden's decline, vouching for his fitness and insisting the president, then 81, was as sharp as ever, even after last June's disastrous debate against Donald Trump. One former White House official who worked closely with Jean-Pierre told Axios that she was one of the most ineffectual and unprepared people I've ever worked with. She had meltdowns after any interview that asked about a topic not sent over by producers. She didn't know how to manage a team, didn't know how to shape or deliver a message, and often created more problems than she solved, the official said. A former Biden communications official threw more wood on the fire. The hubris of thinking you can position yourself as an outsider when you not only have enjoyed the perks of extreme proximity to power, which bestows the name recognition needed to sell books off your name, but have actively wielded it from the biggest pulpit there is as breathtaking as it is desperate. It's difficult to see how this is anything but a bizarre cash grab. Another former White House official familiar with the dynamics told Axios the amount of time that was spent coddling Jean-Pierre and appeasing her was astronomical compared to our attention on actual matters of substance. And again, it looks like us MAGA people were right. We were the ones saying for the past 2 years Karine Jean-Pierre is the worst press secretary in the history of press secretaries. I mean, she was unprofessional, she lied, she didn't speak well, she misled, she deceived, she avoided any real questions, and the ones she would answer in the new era snarky gotcha Democrat way. And everyone in the White House knew it too. It seems like the last 4 years of the Biden administration can be summarized as a whole bunch of incompetent people lying and gaslighting to the entire American public about how competent everybody was. Everything was great. Everybody was great. Joe Biden was great. When in fact, everybody knew that everything was terrible, the people were terrible, and Joe Biden was not cognitively there. But to add insult to injury to Karine Jean-Pierre, and this is the last clip I'm going to show you, here's Jesse Waters revealing that after leaving the White House, she applied to be a co-host of The View and was rejected.
One Democrat insider tells Fox, the job market's really tough right now for Biden world, and I cannot begrudge anyone who needs to make a quick buck. Binder's been trying to get a TV deal, but let's be honest, that was never in the cards. After she left the administration, she tried to get a job co-hosting The View, but The View never called her back.
I don't think there can be a singular slap in the face that forces you to look in the mirror and realize you aren't as exceptional as you think you are as getting rejected from The View. I think her book is gonna flop. The shock factor is gone. Jake Tapper took that. And I don't think she's gonna provide any unique insight or detail in this that already wasn't revealed in Jake Tapper's book. In fact, she was a source in Tapper's book. I hope this falls flat on its face because people like her, who perpetuated the biggest scandal in United States history, don't get to just write a tell-all revealing how they duped the American people and ride off into the sunset with your money. She needs to be held accountable just like the rest of them. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.